Tun Musa Hitam is the chairman of the World Islamic Economic Foundation. You may like to think of them as along the lines of the World Economic Forum. They facilitate trade between Islamic as well as non-Islamic countries. Tonight he's our special guest here on Africa Prime, and we're talking about enhancing and improving trade relations between Malaysia and the African continent, as well as between the Islamic world and the African continent. But we begin first of all, if I may welcome you first.
Thank you.
And so let's begin first by talking about what brought you here this time round. You are organizing a conference where you're talking about the challenges of development in Africa, and then also the role of Islamic finance in enhancing trade between Africa and Islamic countries. Let's first begin by the broader picture.
All right, yes.
Challenges of development in Africa.
Yes, to begin with, yes, you're right. I am here as chairman of the World Islamic Economic Forum. This organization is 7 years old, 8 years old actually, entering the age of 8 years, and that we have been in existence that long. Our main activities in the past had been our annual forum, which actually is a big, rather huge gathering of business people, as well as with the attendance of national leaders from certain selected invited countries.
Right.
And this main activity had slowly but surely been built up. Rather in a low-key way. I like the way you put us in comparison to the World Economic Forum. I like it to the extent that you are right in order to make people understand what basically we are. But I'm taking the opportunity to differentiate us and them. It's not in a hostile way, but us and them for better understanding. And that is, I always say that World Economic Forum is rather it's a little bit of my own viewpoint, from the top down. Top business people, top leaders, everybody who's anybody want to be there. So it's from the top down, and if I may say, there are also top business people who go to Davos, and I myself had been there 2 or 3 times.
I was actually going to ask the question whether you have attended that.
Yes, I have led a Malaysian delegation twice actually, participated in the leadership level discussions. That's it. That's very well known. But the difference between them and us is that we are bottom up. Right. Why is it important for me to emphasize this? It's simply because we are trying to deal with issues related to development, which is fundamental, basic, and crucial to the Muslim Ummah. Generally speaking.
What's the Muslim Ummah?
Which means the Muslim community, the ordinary folks of the Muslim world. Most of the Islamic world, if I may say, and everybody knows, is very, very far left behind in development, and the overall development of the world had been quickened in so many years, in so many ways. We thought that it is time that we try to organize them, so to speak, and try to uplift their role in the overall economic development of their own society, not to mention the world in general terms.
So who are the members of the World Islamic Economic Forum?
Well, membership of the forum is open to anybody, really. Any business entity,
Muslim
literally.
And non-Muslim?
No, not Muslim only. It's open to anybody. We don't recognize the religious difference, and we actually encourage non-Muslim business organizations and business corporations to join up with us, because this is another fundamental thing about us. The name Islamic may scare some people because of the perception, the wrong perception about that the religion. I'm myself a Muslim, but I wish to, if I may say, emphasize here that during the course of any one of our deliberations, we don't touch religion. We don't allow we don't encourage. In fact, we don't allow discussion on spiritualism. We don't allow people to talk politics or ideology for that matter, and we just say, let's talk business. And this seems to have worked well.
Is it a difficult thing to do, to tell them not to
Yes,
talk politics, not
I
to
know,
talk religion,
I know.
not to talk
Yes.
ideology, but to talk
Yes,
business?
I'm well aware of that. But in case people misunderstand and think this is an anti-religious discussion or anti-political discussion, my simple contention is that if you do want to talk, there are ever so many fora in this part of the world. Go there, and in many a time, I myself go to this forum and talk on religion as well as politics.
Sure. So what brings you to Africa?
Thanks to the invitation that has been extended to us through Minara, I think, Chamber of Commerce, as our co-sponsor. We are here, and we have managed, as witnessed by this morning's meeting, we've managed to gather the expert and managed to stimulate so much discussion focused in Africa.
Right. This is the first
Africa,
one that you have held in Africa, and the first one focused on Africa. Now, you're talking about the challenges of development in Africa. When we talk about Africa and the rest of the world, these days, we don't hear much except China, India, more China, China. Not much about the Islamic world, nor about Malaysia for that matter. So let's talk about those challenges.
Well, to begin with, if I may say, that's a reality of the current economic world, if I may say.
We all need China.
Yes, China is
China's
emerging
China.
very strongly, so is India. And I must confess that until less than a decade ago, Africa was completely, not sidelined, it was practically ignored.
True.
And within the last 10 years or so, the emergence of Africa seems to be noticeable, and more of the African countries are progressing. Their growth rates increase, their trades and investments seem to be getting on and increasing. And the world has begun to look closer at Africa. Now, it has been pointed out this morning again and again, Africa is now beginning to move ahead. Africa is getting to be even dynamic.
Sure.
Africa is growing, and Africa is attracting the attention of the world business community.
And yet there are challenges.
One of your challenges is to look at those countries which had experienced it and discover their mistakes. And you would have the opportunity to learn from our mistakes, if I may say.
I'd like to share it with some of our viewers. What are those mistakes that you think perhaps Africa ought to avoid in order to, you know, make it ahead without experiencing the same issues that you guys
I hope I'm not offending anybody or
don't
any
offend
faction.
anybody. I think everybody wants to learn from
what
you.
I want to say is firstly, I think there's so much, there's tremendous interest in natural resources. And natural resources can be divided into two sectors. One is the one that is depleting resources, one which is renewable. Now, when we talk about depleting resources, we talk about oil and gas, you talk about minerals. Now, there's so much interest. Any country which have got these interests would really be like, would be the attention of other countries to come, participate or exploit for their own good, as well as in terms of trade and development overall. Now, first point I want to say, in our experiences, it was the same. Hordes of business people come to exploit our natural resources. No plan, no sustainability, right? No concern for environment, no concern about long-term interests. So the challenge is the management, not the containment, how you manage that wealth that you have to be long-term, to be sustainable, and to really benefit you in the long run, and not allow it to be on a quick buck basis, if I may say.
How do you do that? Because this is the challenge, isn't it? As you rightly point out, I mean, if you look across the whole African continent, we're talking all those natural resources that you're talking about, oil, we talk about platinum, the biggest reserves in the world in the Southern African region, so we talk gold and all those other things. But how do you get it right to ensure that the resources that you are exploiting now are actually safe to establish a base for you to develop on a more sustainable basis going forward?
Well, to begin with, we just should not allow those who are doing the business, the foreign investments that come, dig out things, export them, truck them off,
Should
ship
we
them
tax
off,
them to death?
just like that.
Let's tax them.
Well, I'm not going to say
solution?
that. I'm not going to say that because that would
No, we're looking for advice
No,
from
but
you.
yes,
Sure.
I'm not talking about tax. I'm talking about incentives for respect for corporate governance, incentive for sustainability. In the old days, we never thought of sustainability. You see, there's mining, there's a lot of iron ore there, dig out, bring the tractors and exploit them into lorries, send them off. They are left as, in Malaysia, let me tell you quite frankly, the way we exploited tin, it became so ugly. The whole of what we know as the Klang Valley around Singapore, around Kuala Lumpur, you will see if you were to fly down, ugly parts of the land that has been exploited and left just like that. But thank God, because of 50 years of neglect, and we are now redeveloping them into something. But the fact was that it was left that way with irresponsibility, the exploitation of it, and this should not be allowed. Number two, there needs to be very clear guidelines, very clear rules and regulations, where it would be on what now is very popularly known as win-win situation. You come in here, you contribute. You just don't come here for a quick buck and run away. Sure. You know, even if you make money, there must be certain methods of recycling the money back into investments that relate to sustainability, or that relates to what we call CSR, corporate social responsibility. Yeah. These are the important things, I think, for if you are doing it, if you're not doing it already, that must be listed, as we did not do in the old days the way that we did it.
Tun Musa Hitam, we have to take a break now, and we'll continue the conversation after the break. And I'd like to ask you whether you see evidence that the things that you're talking about are actually being put in place in Africa. And of course, I'd like to explain the Tun part of his name that I've just been saying like it's an ordinary everyday word, and explain what it means. That's only after we come back from the break.